Pokémon Legends Arceus is just 1 week away, and the hype is real. Despite all the interesting trailers we've gotten, and even the 13-minute gameplay preview we got, there's still so much we don't know about this game. And honestly, that's pretty exciting. Of course, we want to know more about it, but if we just got everything from trailers, then we'd be mad that they spoiled everything for us and left us with no surprises. And what better surprise than brand new Pokémon? Yeah, when we got the big trailer reveal in August, I was pumped for brand new forms, no doubt. But the biggest surprise of all was seeing the brand new Pokémon, like Wurdeer, Basculegion, and Cleaver. But that's all we've gotten so far, and I highly doubt that that's all we're getting, hence today's video, the top 5 new evolutions for Legends Arceus. As always, with these kinds of videos, I've got some nice lore and nice designs. Big thanks to The Last Shaman for the art on these. Her work is amazing, so you should definitely go check her out. Without wasting any time, let's just get in the number 5. At number 5, we have a personal favorite of mine in terms of lore. Golduck, while not being a super amazing Pokemon to use, is certainly a really cool one from the original generation of the franchise. One of the things I think that really held Golduck back though was its lack of the Psychic typing. I mean, both Psyduck and Golduck's dex entries talk about the psychic powers they possess, with Golduck even having a solid selection of Psychic type moves. Well, for its evolution, that changes here. Well, sort of. I introduced to you all Capduck. This evolution to Golduck is actually not a water psychic type, but is instead a water grass type. The basis for its design comes from the Kappa, a pretty famous Japanese yokai. This is a very fitting concept for a Golduck evolution, as its original red and blue dex entry states that it's often mistaken for the Kappa. Well, here's why. Since these forms only existed in the past, it's kind of like a game of telephone. As you pass the information on from generation to generation, some details end up going missing, and you end up going from Golduck's evolved form looks like a Kappa to Golduck is mistaken for a Kappa. In terms of design, I'm sure you've all noticed something a little familiar. Atop Capduck's head and on its back are in fact the cap of a Turtwig and the shell of a Grottle. You see, Golduck really likes swimming. So much so that in the past, they were pretty aggressive about other Pokemon getting in their way during their swims. Well, it just so happens that the Turtwig family, namely Turtwig and Grottle, would often feel confident in their type advantage against Golduck and constantly intruded on its personal space. Over time, Golduck grew tired of this disrespect and took matters into its own webbed hands. Golduck began slaughtering Turtwig and Grottle left and right, and the strongest of them that would survive those battles would claim the headpiece and shell as their prizes, triggering their evolution. Pretty gruesome stuff, right? So yeah, the evolution method for this would just be a Golduck needing to defeat both the Turtwig and Grottle in battle, though not necessarily at the same time. So with all that out of the way, let's move on to the stats, ability, and moves. For stats, Capduck gets a solid 70-point base stat raise, with 20 going towards defense, 20 for special attack, and 30 for speed. As for its ability, this is where the Psychic talk comes into play. Now, as I mentioned, it will be a water and grass type, as that's just what makes the most sense to me. However, it would get an ability called Psychonaut, which works like Steelworker, but instead powering up Psychic type moves. It may not be an actual Psychic type, but at the very least, I can give it an ability to make it feel like one. Finally, for the moves, it would naturally have an arsenal of things to choose from for stab, with the typical moves you'd expect like Surf and Energy Ball, with coverage including Psychic, Ice Beam, and Dark Pulse. Yeah, I would not want to mess with a Capduck under any circumstances. I guess it would be a good thing that the species is no longer around anymore. Next up, we have a rather straightforward Pokemon evolution, being Ferrothorns. In the region of Hisui, without the human population, lush forests grew mighty and strong. The Ferrothorn of Hisui thrived in this environment for many reasons, but mostly from the benefit of camouflage. While its steel typing gave it excellent resistances, having that combined with the grass type makes it a detriment to be near fire types. So with the coverage of the plentiful trees of the region, Ferroforest was born. Ferrothorn buries its main body into the ground for protection, where its tentacle things have now spouted tree-like structures,
which vary in size from as little as shrubs to full-grown trees,
allowing them to not only hide their presence for protection, but as well as for attacking. These trees produce not quite a live Ferroseed that it uses to fling at opponents to deal damage. In terms of evolution, it just needs to be leveled up to 55. It might be quite the task, but it's well worth it in my opinion. So for stats, we're looking at a 51 point increase. Why 51? Well, it drives me crazy that Ferrothorn's total was 489, so this evens it out to a clean 540. Those stats look like this: 84 in HP, 105 in attack, 171 in defense, 54 in special attack, 116 in special defense, and finally a drop to 10 in speed. I mean, with these big, bulky trees grown from its body, moving around is even more difficult for the poor Pokemon than ever before. The abilities, I think, can stay the same, as well as the general move pool. However, I do want to give it a signature move here. This is a physical dual grass and steel type move called Seed Blast. I know, it's not the most inspired name, but Bullet Seed and Seed Bomb were already taken. The idea behind this move is it can launch up to 3 of its Ferroseed at its opponents. After all, 3 have been flung the opponent's way. Whichever ones have successfully stuck in will explode in unison, dealing more damage for each one stuck. Each hit deals 20 damage per Ferroseed stuck, with the explosions dealing an additional 40, 50, or 60 damage. So minimum, you're dealing a clean 60 damage. The middle of the road hitting for 90, and with the max end of things dealing 120. I definitely like this move, and think it adds a lot of interesting attack prowess to a Pokemon that's always been primarily defense. I hope we get a Pokemon like Ferrothorn in Legends Arceus. Running into one of these would be an absolute blast. Receiving the bronze medal for this video is a real fun one with Gumshoes. See, in the Alola games, the Yungoos family of Pokemon are referred to as an invasive species that were brought over from another region a long time ago. Well, what better region than a newly colonized one like Hisui? Now, it's no secret that Hisui is based on the feudal era of Japan, and we've clearly seen that it can have an effect on Pokemon and how they evolve or change forms. Well, there's no exception here with Gumshoes. However, its evolution was actually triggered by humans interacting with it. See, Gumshoes likes to stake out their prey, and in a sense are real warriors in the wild. Well, the kind of humans that took a liking to this Pokemon were none other than the military shogunate. The battling the shogun and samurai did alongside the Gumshoes was nothing but overwhelming victory in their favor. As mutual respect grew between both parties, the warriors would often gift their Gumshoes a weapon as a sign of respect, as well as something to be used in battle for continued victory. This resulted in the evolution of Gumshoes into Shogun. As you can see, Shogun is, well, a shogun. It's not only gained a stick club, but also some fancy apparel. This evolution results in a very clean, normal, and steel-type Pokemon. The evolution method, I think, could go either one of 2 ways. The first route would naturally just be high friendship. The other route, however, could be tied to an in-game quest of actually finding a weapon that you can give to your Gumshoes. I think if I had to choose one, I'd go with the friendship option. But in all honesty, I'd like to do both combined. I just fear that it might be a little too complicated. Definitely let me know in the comments below whether you think it should be one of those or both. So for stats, we're looking at a very solid increase of 82, bringing its base stat total to an even 500. With that, its stats become 100 in HP, 140 in attack, 70 in defense, 55 in special attack, 60 in special defense, and finally 75 in speed. For ability, you'll get Stakeout and Adaptability for its normal picks, and No Guard becoming its new hidden ability. For moves, I don't really need to bore you with the normal type coverage, so I'll just keep it brief and say the best steel type moves it gets access to are Iron Head, Iron Tail, and Heavy Slam. So yeah, Shogun is one mean customer, and you would not have wanted to mess with this thing back in the day. Thank goodness, once the feudal era ended, we reverted back to regular old Gumshoes. There might have been some real problems otherwise. Now for the silver medal, the penultimate pick. It's the thumbnail Pokemon. Naturally, I wasn't going to spoil the number 1 spot, so I'm sure you all could have guessed this one. It's the very obvious evolution to Yanmega, who I've dubbed as Yanmeksa. Based on looks alone, I'm sure y'all can guess the typing. Yeah, it finally became the dragonfly it's always deserved to be. But how does it become a dragon type? Well, that part was really simple, so somewhat boring. Essentially, a very rare stone existed a long time ago called the Draconis Stone. This stone imbued certain Pokemon with the power of a dragon. The simple reason for why these are no longer around today? Well, it was a very rare stone. So once those were gone and the Yanmeksa died out, they were gone for good. For its stats, I didn't think it needed a huge increase, so I went with the very modest 40-point increase. Also, I liked that made it 555. That 40-point increase was divided evenly between special attack and speed, bringing those totals to 136 and 115 respectively. I think its abilities can stay the same, so we can just move on to moves. We've got an additional bug-type move being added up with evolution with Signal Beam, with the dragon-type moves it can now learn being Draco Meteor, Dragon Pulse, and Dragon Breath. Then for coverage, it can actually get those typical moves dragons get, with Flamethrower, Ice Beam, and Thunderbolt. Honestly, Yanmeksa is close to being my favorite. The design Shaman came up with was just plain phenomenal, but that wasn't quite enough to be our number 1 spot. And taking home the gold, we have none other than an addition to the Clefairy family. But wait, Mystic, you can't do this. There's already 3 Pokemon in this evolution. It can't go any higher. Oh, silly commenter. Did you just forget about branched evolutions? Yeah, that's right. I'm going really crazy here. This new Pokemon does in fact evolve from Clefairy, and it's a pretty cool one. As we all know, Clefairy love their caves and moonlight. It's etched into their souls. But what happens when Clefairy encounters something otherworldly? What if those caves, that are typically teeming with moonstones, didn't have any? Instead, what if one had a shiny artifact that looked as if it were carved from a giant moonstone inside? What if a Clefairy were to touch it without realizing, and doing so would seal its fate by having its life force stolen from its body? Well, all of these what-ifs would produce Clefan. You know the whole fan theory of Gengar being Clefable's shadow? Well, in universe, that theory stands true, although it actually was never Gengar. It was the fairy ghost counterpart within its own family. So why don't Clefan exist today? Well, naturally, once humans started colonizing the region, they did some exploring themselves. During these expeditions, they managed to find the caves hosting these artifacts, and proceeded to collect them for research purposes, believing they were linked to some ancient civilization. With the artifacts no longer in the wild, no more Clefanons would be produced. Simple as that. So, for stats, they stay the same at 483. However, they do get rearranged a bit. 75 HP, 50 attack, 63 defense, 115 special attack, 100 special defense, and 80 speed. For abilities, it drops Cute Charm and gains Cursed Body, leaving Unaware intact. Lastly, for moves, it gains access to the likes of Hex and Dark Pulse, while keeping everything else that Clefable would typically have. Honestly, I think you can all see why this has got to be the number 1 spot. The design, the lore, it's all just too perfect. Well, that's going to do it for the top 5 new evolutions video. What did y'all think? Legends Arceus is just about a week away, so it'll be really exciting to see if any Pokemon like this come to fruition. All I know is I'm excited, and I bet you all are too. Be sure to let me know in the comments below what your favorite Pokemon was. Honestly, once again, be sure to support The Last Shaman. These designs were fantastic, and I thank you so much for the help in bringing these Pokemon to life. Hey guys, Thank you for enjoying another Mystic Umbreon video. It's exciting times for the Pokemon franchise, and I look forward to the coming months where it just keeps getting better. If you guys are wanting some more bite-sized Mystic Umbreon content, please check out my TikTok, where I upload daily, as well as the Mystic Umbreon Shorts channel. If y'all enjoyed the video and want to see more content like this, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Be sure to leave a comment too. It really helps us out. I think it's time to wrap this up though. I'm Mystic Umbreon, and I'll see you next time with some more amazing Pokemon content.